Hi, my name is Father Joe Menkhaus, and this is the St. Bernadette Parish Westlake podcast. As a parish family, this podcast is a way that we share our story of faith in Jesus Christ. Join us as we dive deeper into the mysteries of our Catholic faith and the reasons for our joy, especially our hope in the love of God. This is Father Joe Menkhaus with another episode of the St. Bernadette Westlake Parish podcast, joined by Trapper Jack. Trapper, how you doing?
We are good, and today we get a lesson in how to do a homily.
Absolutely, absolutely. You and I are not going to talk much today. We're just going to give a little introduction here. But friends, a couple weeks ago, Deacon Joseph Ho, our transitional deacon here at St. Bernadette, gave probably one of the best homilies I've ever heard in my life. I leaned over to him after he delivered it and I said, Joe, I've heard deacons, I've heard priests, I've heard bishops, I've heard Pope homilies, and this was one of the best I've ever heard.
What did he say? Because this is during the Mass.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, partially it was what he said, but I think it was also because it was him. He talked about, it was the anniversary, the 7th anniversary of his coming over to the United States from Vietnam. And so he shared with us some of the intimate details of what it was like to leave his country, to come here to the United States and not know any English, not know anyone, and the real fear and worry and concern that he had on his way over. He really took us into his heart, into his mind, into all the nitty-gritty details, and it captured my attention immediately.
Yeah. Two days before, it was a Friday, and the Knights of Columbus, we took him out to lunch. And in honor of it being Joseph Ho and Father Joe, we went to Joe's Deli. So we were over there. And it was interesting. Homilies came up in the conversation. And he mentioned there that Sunday would be his 7-year anniversary to the day of coming over, knowing nobody, knowing no English, all this kind of stuff. And then somebody asked him about how his training at the seminary. And as a priest, I know as a speaker and as a listener, the hardest thing for a speaker to do is to stay on target, to stay with one message. And they're trained, as you remember, you're trained for one message. And that particular Sunday, it was where your treasure is, where you'll find your heart.
Exactly, yeah.
And you just see that in his desire to come here, to be a priest, to deliver that message, calling upon, well, you'll hear everything he asks. I don't want to blow the talk if you haven't heard it, the homily. But if all of us would deliver a message the way this was delivered, one message and you get it.
And not just deliver, but live it. That's the thing, is that Deacon Joe is the embodiment of the gospel. Go where I send you. Follow me. Come and follow me. Where your treasure is, there will your heart be. There were two things, again, like you say, I don't want to take away the homily here, but there were two things that really stuck out to me. One, it was hearing his story. Actually, there's three things. One was hearing his story, profoundly powerful. Second, he talked about his goal. And he said many times, my goal is to become a priest. But later he says, not just to become a priest, but to do the will of God. Mm-hmm. That's a lot harder than becoming a priest.
Obedience.
Yeah.
Obedience.
We have free will. We can pick and choose to do whatever we want. But to realize that to do the will of God should be all of our goal, all of our treasure, that's intense.
And keep in mind, too, we're talking about a guy who I don't know if he thinks in English yet. I think he's always kind of translating a little bit.
Sure.
And so, he's going to struggle with the language. It's the elephant in the room. He's from Vietnam and he's learning this language over the last 7 years. But the beauty of hearing the words is that you also hear his heart.
Yes.
And that's what shoots through, and I think why it affected you and me the way it did.
Yeah. That third thing then that really stuck out to me, he says, he's talking about what our treasure is. And for him, it could be like just to be with his family again or just to experience his culture again. But he said, God is my treasure. Doing God's will is my treasure. And he says so beautifully that we will never lose this treasure as long as we keep seeking him, because he's never going to run away from us. We turn away from him in our sin and our brokenness. But if we keep our eyes on him and follow him, we're never going to lose that treasure. And that's a profoundly powerful message, especially for those of us who suffer from sinful inclinations at times. So,
well, we've outlasted how long his homily is, but that's not true. I think I timed it 8 minutes. I think right around 8 minutes.
Yeah, which is a perfect time for a homily.
Perfect time. All right.
So, friends, we're going to hand this over to Deacon Joseph Ho. We pray that it hits your heart the way it hit ours. And Joseph, we thank you so much for the blessing that you are to our parish community.
On this same day, August 10, 7 years ago, I was on a long flight from my country, Vietnam, to America to begin a new chapter of my life. That is to come to the U.S. to continue to pursue my call to the priesthood. I still remember that night when I came to Cleveland. It was 1 a.m. in the morning when I walked out of the airport. I knew that there was 2 priests from the diocese who came to welcome me at the airport, though I did not know them at all. So as I was walking out, I was thinking about how I could meet them, because we never met before. I had never seen them, and I did not have a picture of them. And at that time, I couldn't speak English at all. And the only thing that I know about them is they are priests. So when I came to the exit, I saw a person who looked like a Vietnamese person standing there with 2 priests. And the priest was holding the sign with my name on it. And then, before I say anything to them, the Vietnamese person reached out to me first, asked me if I was Joseph Trung, which is my Vietnamese name. And at that moment, I knew that I was safe. I was relieved and knowing that I will be fine. And at that moment, I know that my journey on the land of the US has begun. And from that very day until today, August 10, 2025, it has been 7 years already. 7 years in America, and 7 years into the formation at the seminary. And I see that my goal never changed. It is the same as if 7 years ago, that is, I want to become a priest. And I see that everything I do and everything I work on here in the US is for that goal. Perhaps because of that, the gospel today, there is one verse typically speaks to me in a profound, personal way. It really takes me into a deeper reflection on the journey that I have been on. For where your treasure is, there also will your heart be. The treasure here means whatever we value the most. It is what we give our time, our energy, and what we live for. So my treasure on this journey is not the priesthood. My treasure is to do what God asked me to do, to follow God's will. He asked me to come to America. Here I am. He asked me to come to Cleveland. Here I am, without knowing anything about Cleveland before I came. And if God wants me to become His priest, I would say yes to Him, and hopefully it will happen next year in May. So I tell this story about my journey is not to boast about myself or not to be proud of myself. I know that there are a lot of sacrifices of people who give up their lives for God, for their country, for the people they love. There are a lot of people who are willing to do greater things than what I am doing. For I think they know where their treasures are, and they will do everything to pursue and protect that treasure. And this is really this is really true that Jesus would want us to do. That is to know what is your treasure, to know where is your treasure, because that is where our heart will be. That is where our whole life will be. And after knowing that treasure, we will do anything, we will do everything to pursue and protect it. Someone says that be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. So if your treasure is God, if God is what makes our hearts on fire, then we should do everything to pursue that treasure. We should give Him everything we have to secure that treasure. And truly, God indeed is our treasure. All the things that we are seeking on earth will come to an end at some time. But God is the eternal treasure that we will have for eternity. We will not lose Him unless we choose to lose Him, unless we choose to set our hearts on something that is not God. So whether it is a mission to serve, a vocation to answer, or maybe even a wound to heal, so let your heart be on fire for Him, and be fearless in the pursuit of what you are called to do. And God's grace will help you to carry it on through. God may not call you to be like Saint Francis Assisi, to let go of wealth and to go and live among the poor. But He may call you to serve in a community center to help the poor. He may call you to do charitable work for others in need. When you hear the call, listen to Him and be not afraid to answer His call. For if it is what set your heart on fire, it is truly that place is where your treasure is. And I also have maybe some words for the young men in our community. If God calls you to follow Him on the vocation of priesthood, it sounds crazy, but if it is what your heart belongs for, it is what sets your heart on fire every time you think of it, then do not be afraid to pursue it. He may not call you to leave your country and to be a missionary somewhere, but if He calls you to be a priest for Him in the Diocese of Cleveland, then be not afraid. Be fearless in following that call. Be fearless in the pursuit of that vocation. For where your treasure is, there also will your heart be.